Guys, believe it or no, we are back.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I don't feel stressed. It means I'm not gonna put kilos.
Okay. So,
Did you sleep well? I sleep very well until 7:30. Honestly, I feel like old grandma which she just get retired. No grandchildren around her, no nothing. I feel so much peace in me.
well, I still wake up, but anyway. So we are we are now in the end of this week, and how are you feeling now? What's going on in your head? Yesterday we
My
were.
love, you don't want to know what's going on in their head. It's too many monkeys running there, okay? Like in my head. You want to know what's going on in my head?
In your now.
Be careful what questions you are asking, all right?
So yeah, we were talking yesterday with some friends, and okay, we know that some of you already achieved great success, great goals, and we're very happy about
Oh,
this.
the coaches are very happy because this is like present.
Yes. So this is what it's all about. So we are very happy. And
Sorry, we have a backstage ground sound system here.
but some of you maybe feel still confused or discouraged because you haven't maybe reached your goals. It's the third week. We finished this third week, and what we wanted to remind you actually is that usually that's when the magic happens. When you're almost about to give up. And I'm reading again this book, How to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. As Alan was saying, reminding us that you have to read it 6 times at least, And I was reading this story about the golden mine, the story. This man who were searching for gold and just give up and sold it to someone. And this person
who had the knowledges about.
No, actually, he hired an expert, and this expert find out that the gold where they were searching was like just few meters away. The gold were, and he just give up. Just maybe 1-2 days before he was about
who
to
had
find
the
gold.
knowledges that he understood that doesn't have a knowledges, and to hire someone who have more knowledges.
Okay.
And
all right. So sometimes it's you are just near, you're about to give it up, and actually you are very near your success. So we want to encourage you to really continue, even if you feel weird or if you feel tired sometime of doing it every day. So just a reminder,
guys, if you let out your ego to talk and to say, I know these things, and such like this guy from the golden, he said, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing, and in the end, yes, he know what he's doing. He sell everything for free. And that other guy he said, okay, I am not. He understood everything, the potential, but he said, I don't know exactly how to do it. So I'm going to hire someone who know what he's doing, and this is the easiest way to success. Uh, also, I want to ask you to be patient. Patient. You don't go one day in the gym and then to watch in the mirror. Okay, I do this, but it's me. You don't go 1 month, 2 months, or you cannot change yourself for 1 month. Honestly, when you, oh, Maria.
Okay. I think Julia is reminding us that it's time to go to Mira this morning. So we're having Mira today, and Mira will talk to us about algorithm of change and our role in it. So good morning, Mira.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well. I will
Okay.
mute myself for the background.
Okay. When we were working towards our goals in the community for weeks now, some people already reported they had some amazing things happening. If you are one of those who has nothing to report, just don't go comparing yourself. Don't feel disadvantaged. I always try to, on Saturdays, to summarize. And today I want to summarize what is the actual algorithm of change. Peter Sage talked about, when you're on the way to a goal, it's not so much about the goal, it's about who do you become in the process. And he also said that when you reach a goal, it's because you have changed your identity. You cannot reach the goal with the old mentality or the old habits, old behaviors. That means you first have to reinvent yourself. And when I heard that, I said, wow, that's so amazing. It's such a wisdom comprised in two, condensed in two sentences. And it's actually a whole process that he summarizes in two sentences like that. And I want today to offer an explanation, maybe to offer a short, how to say, step-by-step process, how this is actually done. How do you change identity? How do you become a different person so that you can reach the goal that is at a different vibration, a different frequency of being than you are currently right now. So the algorithm of change, that's the process that occurs within each and every one of us, whether consciously or subconsciously, because we all grow, we all evolve, we're all how to say, creations of God that are in the process of growing. The point is that when you want to do it on purpose, when you really are focused on you and you say, okay, I want to change that. How do I change that? What's the algorithm? Okay, let's start with this one. The first and foremost, it's always about emotion. What is the emotion that you feel at the moment? There is always an emotion that is connected to some blockage that you have, to some self-sabotage. For example, let's say I'm about to give a speech, I'm about to go in public. My stomach squeezes and I feel trembling and I feel insecurity and I feel anxiety. So anxiety is the emotion. When you want to apply the algorithm of change on purpose, because you want to grow out of the old you begin with the emotion. When you feel that emotion, you don't run away, you don't look away, you don't blame yourself, you don't feel less than the others because right now you're anxious, you don't reproach yourself, you don't feel like you're victimized by it. In fact, when you feel an uncomfortable emotion, what you want to do is you want to dive right into it, just like when you dive in the sea underwater. Just like when you know that at the bottom of the sea there is this, let's say, how you call it, some interesting coral or maybe some mussel or something interesting that you want to pick up from the bottom of the sea. So when you feel the emotion, let's say the example anxious, you go within, you dive right within, and you begin asking questions. Asking questions. That's another thing that Peter talked about. Why? What kind of questions? What do I mean? You ask, when I feel this emotion, how do I talk to myself? When I feel this emotion, what am I saying to myself? When I feel this emotion, what voice do I believe that is speaking to my ears? When I feel this emotion, what is my conviction about me? When I feel this emotion, what words do I stick to that I have always been believing are true for me? When I feel this emotion, what is the story that I am telling myself about me in this situation? Just taking the time delve into the emotion, just go right into the heart of the emotion. Ask. And let's say, I'll give you this example with anxious. Okay, I'm about to go, let's say, for an interview. I'm about to go on a first date. I'm about to go um, to meet, let's say, a very important client. I'm about to go apply for a job. I'm about to initiate something. That's my goal. But my stomach squeezes and I feel anxious and trembling, or maybe I feel a discomfort in my chest, or I feel like suffocating. I feel like my throat is tightening. I feel like whatever, you name it. That could be a myriad of symptoms. This is an emotion memorized in your body from previous experiences, from previous situations when you are expected to say something, you are expected to do something, you were expecting it from yourself, and somehow it didn't work out, it didn't turn out all right. And that emotion memorized in your body, stayed in your body, and it was connected to a certain thought pattern. So it's your job, it's your privilege, it's your chance, it's your opportunity. When you feel the same emotion again, go into it and start asking, how did I used to speak to myself when I felt this emotion? Which voice was I listening to when I used to feel this emotion? What was my belief? What was I convicted? What did I conclude about me when I felt that emotion? And for example, in this case, when I do it, it usually comes up with you will fail. What comes up is you're not going to be so good as you want to. What comes up is you don't know enough yet. What comes up is you're not prepared yet. You're not up to that challenge. What comes up to mind is other people would have done it better, I'm sure. What comes up to mind is it's good, but it's not all that you can give. What comes up to mind is also a memory when I was in the third grade, and I'm coming home and I had a mark of 4, which is not the excellent in Bulgaria. The excellent is 6. And that was in Bulgarian language and literature. And my mother was particularly very interested of me writing, without mistakes and having the best orthography. And then all the way from school to home, I was feeling that self shame and that self blame, and I was thinking about how to justify it in front of my mother that I have a 4 and not a 6. And that's a thought pattern that says, you're good. It's not that you're bad, but you're not your best. And even today, before I go into a session, before I go into, let's say, a situation where I need to present, I have this anxiety that's coming, I have this fear squeezing my stomach. And when I delve into it, I just come up with the same thing. This is the way that your body memorized. Anxiety is the way in which your body memorized the thoughts that you accepted to be true. It didn't cross my mind back then that what my mother expects from me is actually her own ambition to feel successful through me, her own desire to be happy through me, her own need for other people to acknowledge her by saying, look what a wonderful child you have, you must be a wonderful mother. That was my mother's need that needed to be met. But what I perceived was that that's the reality. I am really accepted only and when I can perform at 6. I cannot afford to be who I am. I cannot afford to be an average. I cannot afford to not perform, to not produce, to not deliver, because that is a threat to being liked and approved, and which means that's a threat for my survival. That was my thinking back then. And what is ironic is that today I'm not dependent on my mother anymore. I'm not dependent on presenting and performing for her, but my body memorized that I need to perform and I need to present it only to reach an excellent mark, to reach the 6, not the 4. Well, anybody in my place, in my shoes, would feel the same thing because the body and the mind are connected. So my body remembered that when I am about to perform, I have to be perfect. And then my body remembered the anxiety. And every time when I feel the anxiety, what it does, it reinforces the belief that I cannot afford to be average. And what this happens, it keeps me into the same cycle. It keeps me into the same level of productivity because believe me, I'm not productive when I think like that. In fact, when I feel anxiety and when I think that I cannot afford to be perfect, not to be perfect, then I never can give the best of what I can give, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and giving me feedback that you see, I told you so. You're not, you're not, you're not. You cannot, you cannot, you cannot, you can never be, never be, never be. This is what I call personhood. This is the way you have been conditioned that created your own perception of you. And the more you practice it, the stronger the belief becomes. So, back about the algorithm of change. Now, when you notice the emotion, when you delve into the emotion and begin asking the questions, you'll come up with the thoughts that support this emotion. Now, as I already practiced with you, as we practiced with Barbara on the call on Tuesday, what I really am ready to practice with you more is that moment. It's that moment, it's that chance, it's that opportunity. Do you go down the rabbit hole again for one more time? Another time? Do you choose to fortify and to make it stronger? I mean that stupid belief that is not loving to you, that behavior that you don't approve of, that is no longer serving you. That's the moment when you look at that thought. That's your treasure when you find the thought pattern. And that's, by the way, your way out. That's your exit. You cannot change the emotion. You cannot change feeling anxious. In fact, the harder you try to change feeling anxious, the more hopeless and helpless you become because it's like a proof that you cannot change you. But that's a lie. That's an illusion. Just because you cannot change an emotion doesn't mean you cannot change what provokes the emotion. What provokes the emotion is the root, is the cause, is the reason, and is your exit out of the emotion. It's like a flower. When you just pick a flower from the ground and the root stays in the soil, you didn't eliminate the whole plant. Let's say a weed. You want to clear a weed from your garden, and when you just pick it up from the surface, that's not everything. You have to go to the root. Only when you go to the root, then you can exterminate that weed from the soil. In the same way, when you try to take away the emotion, it's like you're only doing half the work and you're doing the impossible part of the work. So don't focus on eliminating the emotion, embrace the emotion. Delve into it, dive into it internally, and begin asking the questions. Again, when I feel this emotion, what is the voice that I listen to? What are the words that I believe in? What is the thought that I support, that I put my energy behind? Yeah, let's say I'm angry, and that's the emotion. So I go within and I say, what is it that justifies this anger? Yeah, the other person is not right. Yeah, it's the right and wrong philosophy. It has to be my way or the highway. It's like The other person is threatening me, it's interfering with my well being. They have the influence, they have the power to mess up with me. Well, if you believe like that, you're going to feed the emotion. And then the more you feed the emotion, the more you strengthen the neural pathways that keep it with you, that keep the same behavior, that keep the same reaction. And then when you say, okay, wait a minute now, isn't that interesting? I say, be curious with your emotions. Don't feel the victim of your emotions. When you're curious about your emotions, you're curious about their root cause, initial reason, which is you're curious about the thinking patterns, which is the beliefs, because you can change the beliefs. In fact, your beliefs are yours to change. And the algorithm of change is all about you finding the thought, finding the belief, finding the words, finding the voice that you used to listen to. That's your role in it. Your role in it is to find, the what is on the ground of the sea. You dive down to find what is in there. Do I want to keep it there? And that's the point of no return. From that point on, you can shift the whole situation around. So, when you find the thought, you find the personhood, you find who you once back then have chosen to be. Maybe you didn't have a choice back then. Maybe, as a child, I needed to measure up to my mother's expectations. She was my model, she was my world, she was my God. So my father, they were my way to survive, my way to be, the only way to be. And now, how does the change begin? It begins by you second guessing that thought, by you daring to look at that and say, wait a minute, is this the truth, the absolute truth, the only truth? Is this the only way for me to respond, to react, to feel about myself, to think about myself? Certainly not. Certainly not, because when you look at that thought pattern, you are no longer that thought pattern. You are no longer the person trapped in personhood. You are the consciousness that is observing the personhood, observing one of the milliards of potentials of being a person. Being a person is like going to an all-inclusive hotel and having the buffet well set up for you, and you go with your plate and you go from one stand to another, and there is plenitude of food, there's plenitude of vegetables and fruits, and you're like, I don't like that, I'm not going to pick up that. I think today I feel more like eating that. Life is a buffet. You can choose yourself every minute, anytime, and you don't have to go eating the beefsteak again just because you have always ate the beefsteak. Come on, look around. There is plenitude of opportunities to choose from. Don't go blindfolded like, I've always been anxious when I have to present, so I'm going to be anxious again because I'll fail, because I'm not so good as I was supposed to be, blah 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 blah. And the point of change begins when the consciousness in you looks at the personhood in you. When I look at my anxiety, never call it my, by the way, when I look at the anxiety when it happens within me, when I find the thought that supports the anxiety, I step up into my consciousness. Do you know how I call my consciousness? I call it the lioness, because she feels like a lioness. She feels like a lioness that is resting gracefully on a green grass, observing the forest. And I was asking myself, what are the characteristics of a lioness that I feel when I connect to my consciousness? Well, what I feel is she's observing, yet not analyzing. She's observing, yet not judging. She's just observing for the sake of observing. And she's involved in what is happening, but she's not attached to what is happening. She is still, very still. still within herself. She is stable and she is what I will call undisturbed. When I connect to my consciousness and become the lioness, by the way, that's a prompt for you. Figure out what is the image of your consciousness. When you are conscious, when you are detached within you and wholesome, what's the image that comes up to you? Because that could be your place of looking at personhood and changing personhood. Personhood can be million of ways. Consciousness is always only one. And the algorithm of change is that you dare to not go the rabbit hole over and over again. You connect to consciousness, look at personhood, and choose another personhood, just like you choose another meal from the buffet of life. And at that moment, you again start asking yourself questions. Yeah, that's nice with the lioness. I mean, when I figured it out with the lioness, a lot of my life changed. You know you see how I talk to you right now? It's the lioness speaking, it's not me, but I connect to her. So, what I wanted to tell you is that when you connect to your consciousness, you again begin asking yourself questions. Questions like, how will a great person react in my situation? How would a great person speak? How would a great person think? And what will a great person believe? And what are the characteristics of this person that I am choosing to become? That's when you step into the role of a creator. That's when you get out of the role of the victim. You know, when you're in personhood, you're completely in victimhood. You blame people, you blame situations, you blame your life, your karma, your stars. When you are into the creation mode, connected with your consciousness, you're powerful. In fact, you are like this network of intelligence that gave you a life force, that is giving you your breathing. You connect to that part of you. And then the sky is the limit. You ask yourself questions. How would I feel when I am up to the challenge, when I measure up completely, when I am at my excellent performance without being perfect, without having the need to be perfect? Well, then I think to myself, well, then I'll be calm, I'll be cool, I'll be collected, I'll be confident, I will be compassionate, I'll be within my element and feeling fine about that. Then you begin to teach your body to feel that. Yes, it's my mom that does that, it's my father that does, but I'm not my mom, I'm not my dad. And this, what they did, is not me. It has never been me to begin with. All this anxiety has never been mine. I adopted it, I copied that. Um, it's never been mine and it will never be mine. This will never be me. That's the algorithm of change. And that's your role in it, you know, to say, and today I make a different choice. And you teach your body what does it feel to be that great person that you want to be. Teach your body how to feel that emotion, new emotion, and you search for that emotion within you. That's why it is so helpful when you take a deep breath in and hold and say, now I release anxiety with I don't measure up and I will fail. I give up that thought. I divorce that attachment. I give up the attachment to feeling anxiety every time when I think I will fail. You are saying to yourself right now, this is no longer me, the one who used to think you will fail, you're average, you don't measure up. And therefore, I'm changing this emotion of anxiety with feeling calm. And what is the thought that supports feeling calm? Well, I can do it. I can do my best and forget the rest. I'm no longer depending on other people's opinion of me, because my opinion of me is the only opinion that matters. I only compare myself with the person I used to be yesterday. And you change the whole algorithm. In fact, what you're doing, you're reinventing yourself, you are creating a different identity. It's a process, and the more you repeat it, the better you become at it. So, the algorithm of change, to summarize, is first emotion, discomforting emotion, uncomfortable emotion, painful emotion. You go into it, you find the thought behind it, yeah, and then you say, "This is not me." You cut, kind of divide this personhood from who you are, and you begin backwards, change the thought that will produce a different emotion. So it's like rectangular: bad emotion, um, destructive thought. Then you say no, and then you change the destructive thought to a empowering thought, which produces a pleasant emotion. You go like that, and your role in it is to say this thing: no, this is no longer me. This is not me. This is not me. This is never going to be me again. And doing that, of course, requires dedication, requires commitment. Why we don't do that? If you know that, why we don't do that? First, because it takes work, and we say we're lazy. I think unhappy people are lazy people. I used to be very lazy about that years. If you go down the routine, down the familiar, it's because you're lazy. You don't want to. You want to have the magic pill, to drink it and to say, okay, done. No. Another reason for not doing that is that you used to believe that you are your emotions. You say, I am anxious. That's not true. It's not you who is anxious. I is experiencing an anxious feeling, but I can be experiencing also different feelings. So you have an emotion, but you are not your emotion. You are actually the creator of your emotion. When you separate yourself, your identity from your emotions, you have the power to look at them, to explore them, to change them by changing the thoughts behind them. So be very careful when you feel sad, when you feel deprived, when you feel depressed, when you feel powerless, when you feel hopeless. That's not you. That's a signal, that's a message that your body is giving you about what thoughts it is connecting to in your mind in that situation. Well, that's the easiest thing to change. These thoughts can be changed. A thought can be replaced, a thought can be omitted, a thought can be questioned, a thought can be cancelled, a thought can be replaced. Anything. It's a buffet. You can go from one to another thing, and that's your role, that's your power. And I'll stop right here because I see that the time is already um, very much over. But I'm thinking now to make a group to do this, to practice this algorithm of change on my Facebook page. And I really, really advise you to join me. I can post the link in the community. That will be probably Sundays at 2 p.m. Let's practice the algorithm of change, and let's practice this wisdom, because to know and not to do is not to know. Just to listen to my talk today is good, but it's not gonna change you. Real transformation starts when you begin experiencing this within your own body. When it is eye-opening. It is eye-opening to me too, but believe me, until I started practicing it, nothing changed. And be very careful. Be very careful of knowing stuff. I think one of the great speakers in this community also said, we are flooded with information and we are starving for transformation. Why? Because we don't do what we know to do. Yeah, Yes, I will do that on my Facebook page in my anxiety group. And by the way, this algorithm of change can be applied not only to anxiety. I will post the link. The first meeting is tomorrow at 2 p.m. It's completely free. You are welcome. It's going to be a Zoom, and we're going to practice the algorithm of change. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mira.
You're welcome.
So, can we continue with the gratitude, please? Do you like to share your gratitude?
Yes. Okay. I'm so grateful and thankful for my becoming more and more aware. I'm so happy and grateful for having the courage to dare to make a difference for myself. I'm so happy and grateful to meet the right people at the right time that are supporting my intentions. And I'm so happy and grateful now to become a better version of myself. And I'm so happy and grateful now to see what I couldn't see before. And I'm so happy and grateful now that I have opportunities and that I have a choice. And I'm so happy and grateful now that I will never be the one I used to be when that's not loving to me, when that's not supporting me. I'm grateful for the community. I'm grateful for all my new friendships. I'm grateful for the food I have on my table, the drink I have. I'm grateful for the wonderful sun. I'm grateful for the summer. I'm grateful for being grateful.
Thank you, Mira. So, just to remind you that we're going to have the mastermind now at 10 o'clock. So, we post the Zoom link before, but we're going to bring it up on top of the wall so you can see it and join us. And it's the Q&A with Tavriana. So, it's good if you have prepared question. And we see you in less than half an hour. So, see you soon. Bye. Thank you, Mira.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.